Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chakra Way Meditation Podcast. I am Rosanne, your host, and I've got a really special guest today. We've already been yakking for like 20 minutes before we're pressed record. So, yeah, time is tight, but we have got the lovely Catherine Crestani here. And Catherine is an intuitive healer, an author, a speaker. But her work is so, oh, I just love what she does. I'm going to read you a little bit from her website where she is about because I can't put it any better. She says, I support people in reconnecting to their inner wisdom and translating spiritual insight into lived embodiment. I'm not interested in telling anyone who they should become. My work is about creating space for you to remember who you already are, beneath conditioning, passions, and inherited narratives. I mean, that to me is just like a dream sentence or two. That is just beautiful. So welcome, Catherine. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Rosanne, and I'm excited to see where we end up this evening.
Yeah, I know exactly. And also, just before, and I know we'll say this, but Catherine is also a podcast host, Willow Healing podcast, is which is one of my favorite podcasts. I absolutely adore it because you have conversations in the same way that I have conversations. You know, they're very similar. So I love listening to what you have to say and all your guests. But we're here to talk about you and what you do. So, but I always want to know somebody's origin story. I want to know the prequel to where you are now. Like, what did you used to do? How did you get to this place? And what drew you to this incredible spiritual work that you do?
Well, I feel it's that the similar story to people of like I never felt fulfilled in my career,
Mhm.
right? So, but my background is a speech language pathologist. So I did that for nearly 2 decades, working with children with autism spectrum disorder mainly and their families. And I was very good at my job. I remembered kids, I connected with kids. I never had a problem having a conversation with a child. Actually, I still feel that little humans are so much easier to work with than big ones. But, that's
So much
okay.
honesty and authenticity there. There's a freedom, isn't there, with any luck? Yeah.
Exactly. And if we talk about fairies, we don't have to sit there and question if it's real or not. They just go, yeah, look, the fairies are there. It's like, yeah, perfect, amazing. But it was through that, like I constantly was striving for the next big goal. So, when I bought into my business partnership, I think I was been working 2 years and I got offered it from one of my bosses. And we built that together up to a seven-figure business, which is pretty impressive for speech pathology practice. And this was before there was a ton of government funding and things like that. And that came in while we were doing it, but we still did it from the ground up. And I was very good at following my gut and seeing the gaps in the market. I was just really, really good at it because I was incredibly intuitive. I just didn't realize that's what it was going on. So in the meantime, my personal life wasn't great. I went through a divorce. And then once I went through that divorce, I went through my business divorce. But in the meantime, I always felt I had to have my own business. So I'd started my own business in the background that whole time and built it from the ground up and built that into a six-figure business, which I thought amazing. I don't have to talk to anybody. I can run my own company. I don't have to run things by my business partner. It'll be amazing. But what I forgot to do both times is I always constantly made the business come back to me. And I always thought I had to do things myself. So if you're anyone who's running a business like that and building it to such a point where you have lots of staff and everything under you, I can tell you right now, if I went back, I would hire a receptionist and I would hire a manager and I would do all those things, gift of hindsight, right? But at the same
Yeah.
time, because I didn't do that, I ended up in burnout, adrenal fatigue, all those fun things. But I just never felt fulfilled. It didn't matter how much money we were making, how big my staff was. I very rarely had moments where I felt like, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm
Mm.
meant to be doing.
Mm.
So because I was in so much stress all the time and I was basically working 7 days a week and doing all of that, I
Mm.
was really unhappy. And I was going to my naturopath to get all the like things to keep me alive. And then we're joking now, but it's probably kind of
Mm,
true.
yeah.
I'd come out with my little bag of supplements every week, and I went to book in one weekend. I saw that his partner was offering this new, like, kind of offering. I think it was called something. I can't remember exactly.
Mm,
And I said, "Oh, I saw that, Carly's offering these things." And he goes, "Yeah, you should book in." I'm like, "Okay." So I did. And there goes my spiritual journey. So the first session we had, she channeled all these things through for me. She's like, "There's someone in your spirit team that's in your family." I'm like, "I know it's my great grandmother." And then straight away I was up in my higher self. So for
wow.
anyone listening, your higher self is where you go to meditate, where there's no one else but you at the soul point, really. And so I met my spirit guides really quickly. And every 2 weeks I went back. And it was just the next level, because my soul was begging for it. And I was like, "Oh my
Mm,
goodness." So then, of course, the dark night of my soul, dark night of the soul, was my company falling apart because I wouldn't let it go. I was like, I can do both. I can do both. So in the space of so in a space of a week, I had 3 staff resign. And by this point, I was ready to step back. I was ready to actually step into a manager role myself. I didn't want to be so involved. I was exhausted. And when the 3 staff resigned in one week, I had absolute breakdown. I was on the floor in a ball. My husband and my son were trying to get me off the floor, but I just couldn't get up because I was just done. I was just like, I can't do this. But of course, I did get up. Even my guides were like, "It's okay, get off the floor, keep going." I'm like, "I don't want to." Anyway, so I got up and then got over that. And then a month later, in the space of a week, another 3 staff resigned.
oh, wow.
And I was incredibly angry, Roseanne. Like, I was out yelling at the universe and just incredibly ticked off because, I'm like, I'm doing all the work, I'm taking all the steps, I'm like, why? Like, why?
Yeah.
You know. Then I kind of got over that. And then a month later, in the space of a week, another 3 staff resigned. So I still hadn't replaced the other ones. I'd
God.
had
Literally left
Right.
them on. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is like master number 3, right? Like, I always say things happen in threes, especially in my world.
Yes, they
So,
do.
and then by the time I got to this point, I went, "You know what? These people aren't meant to be in my life anymore. I'm not meant to be running this company anymore. Either I'm selling the company or I'm shutting the business when the lease runs up." That's the point I got to.
Yeah.
And I went up to meditate, and my guides were like,
Yeah.
"Yay, you finally got there and figured it out." And then my husband goes, "I told you to sell the business 6 months ago." I'm like, "I know you did, but I wasn't ready because it was my baby. I created it from the ground up." And,
Mm,
so anyway, so that's how I sold my company, eventually sold it, and then kept working there. But it was still my safety net. That
yeah.
wasn't the end, So my husband and I sat down and said, "I can't keep working this job." I said, as much as I get really good money from doing it and I'm really good at it, every time I go, a little bit of my soul dies. And the reason that
Mm,
was because I couldn't work in the capacity I wanted to. I couldn't sit there and channel through healings for my clients. I couldn't, um, you know, to a point I could recommend herbs, but I had to be very careful how I did it because it was out of my scope, per se.
yeah.
And all those sorts of things that we have to dance around when we're in a system.
Yeah.
And especially because all the clients were funded, like all these little dances that we have to do. So then um, I kept going to work, and my husband's like, "Okay, well, I'm like, well, what if we sell the house? What if we like just change our life? So we put the house on the market, and instead of resigning, I I chickened out, and I had a date in my head. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna finish, like, I think it was the 30th of April, so it was March I was giving it in, my resignation." I just put when the house sells, and for anyone listening, never condition the universe because it won't work.
No.
So, of course, the house that was meant to sell really quickly didn't.
Didn't
And
sell. No, of
then,
course it didn't
and it
know.
still hasn't sold. It's been 18 months and it still hasn't sold. Yeah, that story's still being written, and it's
Oh,
really
wow.
interesting how it's
That is.
unfolding.
Mm.
But because I stayed, I started to go numb. So I lost feeling in my pinky, I lost feeling in my arm. I got to the point where I was like, had pins and needles all through half my face. And I went to all my beautiful team of healers that I know and everything, and it would go for a few days and it would come back, and no one could tell me what it was. It was always something different. And it was finally this couple that I'd had on my podcast. They went to me, Catherine, you know that until you address the cause, it's never going to shift. So you have to figure out why you're going numb. I'm like, oh my God, I'm numbing myself to go to work. It was like, that's what I was doing.
Yes. It's simply a matter of asking yourself the right question because it's so easily available, but it's so hard sometimes to actually ask that question.
Exactly. Exactly. So then I was meditating with a coach at the time, and it's like, what does your heart have to tell you? And it was like, quit. That was it. Non-negotiable. You need to quit, or this is going to get worse. And to the point of no return. And I could feel myself heading to an autoimmune because my nervous system was already fried, from years of chronic stress and
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah.
So I did. I quit my job. And
Mm.
my husband had to go back to work. I became the stay-at-home parent, or the number one stay-at-home parent. It was a
Yeah,
big conflict, big role shifts, big everything. But then I had to figure out who I actually wanted to work with. So then I'm sitting there and my coach is like, you should do this and you should do this. I'm like, none of that fits. And it was actually when I left the influence of my coach that I actually had to rediscover myself again, because when you work with somebody like that and you're taking on their ideas and things, you actually lose part of your identity as well. And
yeah,
I'm not saying not to work with coaches or things like that. I think they're brilliant to a point, but you need to still maintain your identity through
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, and we were just talking before the show began, and I was saying I actually dumped all the things that I got taught, like, oh, you have to sell in a call and everything like that. So
Oh,
just
yeah, the
last,
funnels and give
yes,
the
yes,
free the masterclass and the leaders and the this, that, and the other. Yeah, no, I've been there, done that, done the coaching, and like it's really interesting and it's kind of necessary to know all of that stuff, and this, I think applies to any kind of realm of work world. But actually, when it comes down to it, you have to just simply follow your own intuition because you know what's right for you.
yep,
And we are so programmed to be told to listen to everybody else. Oh, there's so much wisdom, listen to this person, listen to that person. We're bombarded on our phones. I don't know about you, but on my Instagram, on my my business, if you like, feed,
yep.
I literally 50%, probably more, is people going, do you want to make a $10,000
Uh,
day? I can teach you how to do this, that, and the other. And they're seductive, but they're just going to teach you their method. You don't know if it's going to work for you. Maybe some people it does work for, but yeah, it's, yeah.
yeah, and this is where it's like, this is where the energy isn't accounted for, right? And even the coach I worked with, he always said it's 20% mindset and 80% energy. And
Mhm.
that always stuck with me. And it's really interesting because sometimes you can do all the work, you can do all the inner work, you can do all the things, and you're still not attracting it. And it actually doesn't always mean it's you. And I
Mm.
had to learn this from letting go. But even, when I work with my clients now and how I came back, I basically got thrown into it. It was so funny. So my main passion is writing. Like I love
Yeah.
writing. I'll write articles, I've written two books, I'm writing a third one eventually. Actually, I've
Yeah,
got
I want to talk to you
multiple
about your
books.
books. You got a great book. It looks wonderfully saucy. I don't know if it is
Yeah.
or but it looks like it. I'm
We'll
like, oh,
circle back. We'll
hello.
circle. Are we talking about my virtual obsession? I think we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, actually, it loops into our conversation anyway. So the book itself, I got like dreamt it. I dreamt the whole book from the start to the finish, right? So, which was really cool. So then when I started writing it, it was like I just went to the side and I thought it was a ghost writer, okay? But it was actually a version of me that is a writer, an accomplished writer coming through and just telling me how to write this book. And it went through, I still had like edits and I still put it in, but I actually didn't realize what I'd written. And then it was when I was putting it through ChatGPT to figure out the marketing behind it. It's like, you've actually created a book that explores how loneliness leads to obsession and how technology can override people's thoughts and their intuition. And I went, what?
Oh,
What did I
wow.
do?
Yeah.
And then I went, oh my gosh, I did do that. And this like it links into this conversation because I didn't realize that. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I actually teach people to have relationships with themselves so they don't say yes to relationships that don't synchronize. And then all of a sudden I'm attracting all these clients in the same situations that are mirrored in the book. And I end up working with people in relationships, and it came down to relationships with themselves, relationships with others, and relationships with life and their career, or however it pans out in the community kind of span of things. And then relationships with spirit and the higher level of things. So that's how it have ended up evolving, doing what I do right now. And and then it just got really magical. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like I couldn't have predicted it went that way. And then I was kind of pushing aside. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in a relationship coach. I don't want to be that. Like, no, 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 no. And then someone said to me, a coach that I do like working with occasionally, and she goes to me, how do you know those clients, the love relationship clients, are the ones that are coming to you for the really trivial things, aren't your long-term high-end spiritual clients? And I went, oh my goodness, you're so right. And then, sure enough, when I opened up to that, they did morph into that or they did evolve into that. But because I'd put them in a box, because we're taught to niche, aren't we? Right? We're taught to niche and put them in boxes, and this is what fits, and this is the right thing. It didn't have that kind of evolution. So,
Yeah.
when you're building businesses or when you're building your career or whatever it is, sometimes you do have to ignore what everyone says if it doesn't feel right for you. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying it from an ego point of view. I'm saying if your gut's just saying, I know you're saying to do this, but I really feel like I want to do that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
do that and follow
No.
that and see how it shifts and changes.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love what you're saying about relationship because basically all of life is about relationships, and
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
an angle that I took for a while with, when I was trying to kind of niche in my chakra work. And, chakras in themselves are a bit of a niche. But then when you open it up and you sort of open the door and you step inside the chakra world, you realize that actually it's everything, because it's, relationship with family, with food, with sex, with your one-to-one relationship, with your emotions, with your creativity, with your work, with your money, with your love, with your friends, with your voice, with your, your inner self, with spirituality. Like you run the gamut and everything is a relationship, everything.
Yeah.
And so I
Absolutely.
think saying you're a relationship coach is actually like, no, you have to niche that, like go, no, I'm into your romantic, your marriage relationship, that. But even that is not as narrow as it sounds because you're going to be influenced by your parents' relationship and the other relationships around you that anyway, it's never quite as simple as it sounds, is it? So what is it that the work that you do when you're working with clients, say I come to you and I go, I need help. Like, what are your modalities? What do you do? Is it talking? Is it meditation? Because I know on your website you've got lots of different ways to work with you. And there are some really lovely, just like simple meditations, just get that, bam, done, easy. But then there's working with you. So I'm talking about working with you. Like, where do we go? What happens?
So how I work is that I get your spirit team to come hang out with my spirit team, and they have a big party, Rosanne. They're like there, and it's amazing because sometimes they've been so waiting for a chance to talk that as soon as we open the space, it's like "Du-du-du-du-du-du-du-du," and I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm human. I need to translate this to get it to the client. And so whatever it might be, it's very bespoke. So I am truly guided into what to do. So I'll have clients and maybe they just are exhausted and they need a deep level healing. So they'll just lay down and I'll be like,
Mm.
all right, do I have your soul's permission to do X, Y, and Z? And most of them go, most of my clients go, just do what you need to do, just, and then we go to work. So then we might be working on the chakras, or we might be working on meridian systems, which are your emotional gateways, or we might be working on your aura or your energy body, or we might be working on your inner child. I had a client, actually a couple of clients in a row. Usually if I learn something new for one client, it'll apply for the next, however many that come through. That's the law of attraction, right? That's what ends up happening. So then I was coaching this, I'm not coaching, this one client was going through this healing and her inner child came in and I'm like, oh, how can I do inner child work? So basically her soul essence came forward plus her inner child. And I was there just kind of as a witness or a referee, if you
Oh,
will,
wow. Yeah.
like just kind of guiding the session, like, okay, well, what do you need? Or what do you need? Or what do you need?
Yeah.
So that was really fascinating. But then I have other clients and we'll go up and do timeline work. So what I mean by that is we have a destiny, but our destiny is actually not fixed. We can choose to go a higher timeline, a different timeline, because we always have free will and we can always make a choice. So we
Mm.
can go reconstruct our timelines at any point. And a lot of people's timelines at the moment are a mess. And what that means is that your energy is so diluted that you can't actually get anywhere. So that might be a block we have to remove and consolidate that. Sometimes we go to the Akashic and we'll go and there's actually a room. I just discovered this lately. There's actually a room with all your in your Akashic with all your karma lessons, with your contracts, with the vows, with unsaid vows, like all these curses, anything you like in this room, right? And
Right.
I'm like, oh, like, and then one of my clients is like, can we just blow that up? And I'm like, no, 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 no. We need some of these. We need some of them. But if you knew this client, you'd laugh because that's exactly her reaction to it. Because it's like,
Just
we'll just
firebomb the
take it
whole
out.
thing.
We'll
Yeah.
just take it out. I'm like, no, 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 no. So then we'll go in there and we'll see what we can close off or what we can end. And then it might be cord cutting or it might be DNA work as well. So I do a lot of work in the quantum realm where we create things from nothing. Or it might be a really guided shamanic journey. It just depends what your soul needs. And whatever comes through is truly what your soul needs in the moment, So, um, and then it might be you get soul work. Actually, nearly every time you'll get soul, I call it soul work, but it'd be like, okay, I've got to send you this, this, and this, and you've got to follow up on this. And then I check in with you afterwards because I don't
Okay.
leave you hanging. I
Mm.
like to nurture my little humans and my big humans, because sometimes it takes a little while for it to integrate and sit in. And even I had a client the other week and actually, we were talking about this just before the show started. So I only learned about a month ago that you can sack your spirit team if you're really unhappy with them or they're not in alignment with where you're up to in your progress. You can fire them and you can get new people in. And this was like, I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, and they're like, no, you can get a whole new spirit team. And because of the work that I do, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need a team for this. Can you upgrade them? Oh yeah, we're just going to sack these few people and we're going to we're going to hire these. So I took one of my clients to work on her timelines and the guide was there and her timelines were an absolute mess. And when I say mess, how it looked to me, because I can see things clairvoyantly, it was like, imagine you have a normal road, like, so you're driving down a road and that's the main road. Now imagine they couldn't figure out which way the road wanted to go, so they kept putting little things coming off it everywhere. And so there's all these diversions, and then you suddenly don't even know which road's the actual road that you're meant to be on. But then there's also holes in the road and massive gaps as well. And I was like, what is this? And we both, like in this meditation, we both look at her guide. And I was like, oh, he knows he's going to be about to be sacked. She's like, damn straight he is. Like, let's get a new one in. So it's like, so it's a reminder too that we are actually incredibly powerful sovereign beings because,
Yeah,
we're created from God. We have stars in us, for goodness sake, So
exactly.
we're so powerful energetically that,
So
yeah,
I just
actually
want to
some,
I just want to go
yeah, yeah,
into this in a little bit more detail because
yeah,
um like I'm on the edge of this, like I get exactly what you're talking about. I know, I understand it completely. However, I feel like for myself and others who are like, "Wow, how on earth do you go about doing that?" Am I right? Like, it's not like you've got a special power, a special wand, a special door access. Like, when you connect with your spirit guides, when you are going, right, actually, I want to shift timelines, or I want to sack this team, or I want to call in this, it's not like you've got some sort of special magic formula to do this. You're simply using your intention and your power and your direction of your energy to do this, right? So it's not
correct.
like nobody, anybody can do this. You can sit there and go, I'm sacking you, spirit guides. And there's not some sort of special thing or state that you have to be in. It's simply just deciding that that's what you're going to do and
Yeah.
feeling it truly, feeling it authentically in your body that that is the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that's come up is if you choose not to believe it, it's not going to come forward. If you
Yeah.
choose not to feel it, see it, or observe it, it's not going to anchor in this reality. So that
Mm,
was a big thing. I was working with the client, and she had a lot of interfering energies stopping her from actually connecting with her spirit team and a few other things that were going on. And I was like, how come we can't just say like this global thing to remove it? And they're like, because you haven't felt it, seen it, or observed it. So how
mm,
can we know what to remove? And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So even when I work with clients, it might be like really high level what I'm seeing. And I'll just report back to them, this is what I've witnessed because I need to anchor it in this reality.
yeah.
Because we can create everything up here, but if we don't bring it back down to earth where we
Mhm,
are in our current
mhm,
human form while we're talking right
mhm.
now,
Yeah.
nothing will shift and nothing will change. So for some of my clients, like for me, when I started this process of tapping more into more realms, I see doors. So doors are portals, right? So I
Yeah.
see doors and I'll go through different doors. And for me, I'll have symbols show up on the doors. So if I found out like I was white witch lineage from my mum, weirdly. Anyway, so
Nice.
then yeah, it was really cool. It was a weird conversation, but very cool. So then all of a sudden I had this door show up and it had a pentagram on it. And I went, "Ooh, this must be witchy." And I opened the door, and it actually took me a bit to get in there because I'm always, this is a caveat for everybody. If you're not sure about a guide or you're not sure about an area that you're in, you need some sort of energy that you trust. So whether it's Archangel Michael or it's Callie or like some sort of protective energy or like
Mhm.
a guide that you truly trust that can show up and verify people because there's a lot of fake energies too. So I'm not saying that
Yeah.
to create fear. I'm saying
Mhm.
that please use your discernment, right?
Yeah.
If you end
Yeah.
up in a space and you don't understand what it is, call in them. Now, for me, Archangel Michael is not welcomed in the witch's coven, which kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
He's like he could come in the door, but he wasn't allowed to stay. And they're like, try again. You've got another person on your team. And I'm like, oh, all right, maybe Archangel Ariel. So, because she's my bridge guardian. So what that means is when I connect with people or connect with different realms, she kind of comes in and takes the brunt of the dark energy, if you will. So anyway, so then I'm like, maybe Archangel Ariel. They're like, you're closer, but think better. And I'm like, oh, magic, magic. I'm like, oh, Freya. So I work a lot with Freya. And then I was like, oh, I'll bring Freya in. They're like, oh, well done. You can bring Freya in because she's the mother of magic. I'm like, oh, okay,
Wow.
this makes sense. And then I could go in and there was my family lineage that all practice witchcraft. It was really cool
Wow.
to see them like in there. So for me, doors show up. So for some people, it might be doors. For other people's, it might be like a portal. For some people, it might just be you walk down a path after you set the intention. And if you can't see, please don't let that discourage you.
Oh, I
Trust
think
what you
that's
hear or
so,
trust what you feel.
yeah.
So if it is, when you feel that you're surrounded by something, ask what does that mean to yourself, or journal, or however it is you can connect. You can make your clairs stronger. So if you're like,
Mm.
oh, I can never see anything, there's so many cool little exercises you can do for clairvoyance and clairaudience, to
Yeah,
tune them.
yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, anyone can do it. I
yeah.
learned on the fly.
All you have to do, or I mean, in my experience, all you have to do is open yourself up to it. Like for me, I find that I'm quite clairaudient, and it's not like I hear voices. I have songs that drop into my head. And I used to
Same.
just think I just used to think, oh, there's a thing, I don't know why that's in my head, la 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 la. And then I started to realize actually these songs have messages. And I would take very, close attention to what song drops into my head. So yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens in ways that you might not recognize. All you have to do is open your awareness to it and your availability and your willingness to be open to it, and then things will
Yeah.
come in. And it's, yeah, in any way, shape, or form. And I think, because I come across a fair number of people who just like can't visualize, they can't, who it's a very real thing, people who cannot create images in their heads. And so, yeah, there's lots of different ways. And I think that you've got like in your on your website, have you got a thing which is like how to open up your class? Why did I think that? No,
I
maybe
think I do.
I
I
do. A
actually have
meditation.
a mini Claire course. I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So it
do.
just talks about we actually have 8 Claires. Actually, we have more than that, but they're the main ones that we but even like smells. So, I smell things sometimes before they happen. Like I'll smell a cat poo and I'll be like, why can I smell a cat poo? And I'm like, oh my God, the cat's in. Quick, get her out before she poos. Or taste is another one. Like my son's really interesting with taste. He's got really strong like clairgustance, so he'll just taste things and go, no, the energy's not right in that. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I've interviewed people and she'll like get different. Her name's Michelle, I can't think of her last name, Lundstrom, and she channels the mushroom kingdom, but she gets different tastes of different mushrooms in her mouth as she's channeling them so that they actually put the taste in her mouth. Yeah. So
Wow.
there's more clairs than what we realize. We
Yeah.
all think about clairvoyance. And the other thing I want to say is just because someone's clairvoyant doesn't mean they're a seer, and just because someone's psychic doesn't mean they're a seer. Psychic just means that you can see something beyond the veil or notice something beyond the veil, or just, it's beyond this reality that we live in currently.
Wow.
So don't get stuck on definitions and
No, no, I
don't,
think it's
yes,
really,
yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is, it's really important because I mean, essentially what we're doing when we tune into any of the clairs, when we tune into ourselves in meditation, essentially what we're doing is heightening our intuition. We are calling up that inner knowing, that inner wisdom of the body that the brain, clever though it thinks it is, thinks it's in charge and got everything on lockdown. Actually, we need to stop listening to the brain and start listening to the heart, to listening to the body, because it's that intuition that comes from the gut, from the heart, from our body. It can come from your little toe. Like it's all there. The messages are all in your body. And it's all of these things just help us tune into that it is all under the umbrella of intuition, right?
Yeah. And the Heart Math Institute, if anyone hasn't heard of them, they got really cool research that's come out. But this one study came out, and I can't remember what it's called, but they actually studied the decision-making receptors in our body. And they found that our heart and our gut actually contains more decision-making receptors than our head. And our heart was significantly more than our head. So how it should be is that you check in with your heart, then test your gut just to make sure, is this safe or not, right? Your gut
Yeah.
instincts. And then check in with your head, because your head puts the intuition into action. We still need the head because the head is what
Mm.
anchors it into this world. But if you don't listen to your heart, I don't know who it was who said this, but I loved what she said. It was intuition should be listened to, not put in a drawer for later. So,
Mm.
really. you need your head still to put into action. Our ego is here for a reason. It's part of the human experience. You just
Mhm.
learn to adapt from it rather than push it away. I actually was determined to get rid of my ego, and it just hid and got more clever. And
Yeah,
then I
good
went,
luck.
yeah, no, actually, I'm meant to live with it. That's part of the experience, you know.
No, I
So,
think an ego, having a balanced ego is really, I think if you, I don't know, I mean, this is a very base example, but like if you get rid of your ego, there is nothing to push back and go, oi, no, actually, that's not okay. I'm not standing for that. There's a sense of strength within a healthy ego that
yeah.
allows you to stand up for yourself and stand up for what you value and all of that kind of stuff. So no, I'm fully and as you were speaking, I was thinking, God, actually, it's really interesting because the brain up here near the crown, pineal gland, all of this incredible chemistry that's going on, the third eye, all this intuition, it's actually a really grounded organ. It's actually a really kind of base organ in a way because it's basically just the computer that makes everything else connect. And
Mm.
what we really need to be listening to is the body.
I had a client connection call this week, last week, I think last week. And she said, "Oh, my memory's really bad. I don't know what's going on with my brain." I said, "Here's a secret. There's no memories in your brain." And she goes, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "It's all kept out here because it's all kept in our auric field, biofield, whatever you want to call it." I said, you know, even they've done studies where they've removed parts of the brain that are meant to have memory, like our hippocampus and those sorts of things, and you can still get the memories from a different part of the brain, which means it's not coming from the one place. So
Yeah.
there's a really cool book called The Holographic Universe. It's really hard to read. I can't even finish it. I'm not going to lie. It's really heavy on the physics. But at the same time, the concept wasn't foreign to me. And I was just in a meditation the other day and they're like, "Hey, we're giving you access to even more memory work." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much." You know, so if you're someone that's listening going like, "Oh, my memory is atrocious." Well, it's not. You just haven't learned how to connect outside of yourself because just like you said, Roseanne, our brain, our pineal gland, our pituitary gland, it's very grounded. But it's just like that. I want to say it's like the connection point to help us get to those bigger aspects out there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know people talk about, and you see these images of people doing scans of the brain and the electrical activity that's going on when you're feeling a certain emotion, or when you're feeling stress and so on. And there's and I guess I wonder if anyone's done that, like because I know there is equipment that can measure your auric field, that can measure I wonder if anyone, that's just a little flight of fancy. I wonder if anyone's done that. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's get hold of a machine and start doing some experiments. We need to do some PhD or something. Um, Catherine, I know that you've got to go at the top of the hour, so I don't want to use these last 5 minutes wisely. What is the one message that you think that people need to hear? Because before we got on, we were talking about how the world is really kind of a little bit strange right now. Timelines, energy is a bit off the chart. I don't
Mm.
know, it's just a bit weird right now.
It
Everything's
is.
going strange, like the weather is. You're in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. If you are
So
you having
yesterday we basically had summer and today it was winter again. So,
yeah,
you
the world is
know, the
struggling.
world's upside down and back to front, and
Mm,
but at the same time the lessons in the energy at the moment is how to stay neutral, despite all the, I know a lot of people are triggered by politics at the moment, but you learn to stay neutral in it all. Like, where do I sit if I just sit neutral? Where does that? But I think the biggest thing I want people to remember is that magic is everywhere. Especially you can create magic in your life. And it's not something out here. You just have to be open and start to look for it and remember and choose to allow yourself to remember too. That's why I like working with little humans because they're full of wonder and curiosity and magic. And we
yeah.
forgot that somewhere along the line. And if we can start to come back and start with just with that curiosity and start to ask, better questions or just go investigate or be curious, that is
Mm.
how you can go deeper and deeper into this work. And then magic does really happen,
Yeah,
you know.
I think there's a lot of magic in play. And I think that's
Yes,
why children have magic, access to magic, because they have permission to use their imaginations and to play and to create universes which us stodgy old adults don't realize are there. But for them, it's absolutely real. They are creating magic. And I think we have access as adults, we have access to that magic. We've just need to remember how to play.
exactly. And play is so important. And even, my clients, I say, what do you do for joy every day? Like just find something, just a little thing that brings you joy. It can even be making a cup of tea. If you're a mum, I understand drinking a cup of tea warm, really important. That
Yeah.
might be your joy in the day, or your cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you choose to fill your cup up with, So, creating those moments of joy and play and
Yeah.
fun, you know,
Yeah, actually,
and
there's a
yeah,
lovely thing there where people say, "Oh, fill your cup." You use that whatever you fill your cup with, and you can as you fill your cup with lovely hot tea or coffee or whatever matcha, whatever it is, like you can put intention into that. With like,
yes,
actually, this is what I want, and I'm drinking this down. That's such a beautiful idea. Yeah,
yeah. And it doesn't have to be big. You can start small, and it could even be, as I drink this cup of tea, abundance and magic flows to me. There you go. That just came off the top of my head. So, yeah,
it didn't. It came straight through from your guides, going, "Tell them this." Yes.
exactly.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. Listen, how can people get in touch with you? I've already alluded, or I've already told people, Willow Healing Podcast. Highly recommend that, but only after you've listened to my podcast. How else can they get hold of you, Catherine?
So the best place is probably my website, and that's willowhealing.org. Otherwise, I'm on Instagram quite a lot, and my handle is willowhealingsh. So you can check me out there, or Substack's the other place if you want to be
Oh,
the first
yeah.
in the know for the podcast episode, or when I write my articles when I feel it. I've actually been better on myself and being like, I'm just putting it out when I feel it,
Yeah.
So it's willowhealing.substack.com, and it's if you haven't checked out Substack, there's some really cool things happening over there too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm tinkering around the edges. I'm very much on the edge, on the sort of sidelines of that, but know full well that it's a really rich place to be. And then your books as well. So those are all available on your website. But the you've written this beautiful kind of fiction, but it's with the added depth. The virtual My Virtual Obsession, and then there's a couple of other books you've written as well, which I think are really interesting.
Yeah, so there's some ebooks on there. There's the Courageous No Holiday Edition, so it's how to say no during the holidays.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So
and
niche, but
then
so needed.
yeah, that's really short, but it's a really beautiful ebook. But then there's also I've written a spiritual ethics book called Pillars for Life, a guide to spiritual ethics and practice. And it's not a rule book, if you will. It's a guideline of how
Yeah,
to align yourself to these principles, but also they linked in with chakras and guides and crystals and animals. And it was just like every time I thought I was done, my spirit team were like, nope, keep going, keep going. I'm like, okay. And there's some beautiful spiritual practices in there as well. Now, at some point, they will become an audiobook that's just on my list, and it's not my priority right now, but it will get there. It will get
one
there.
day. The time will, when the
One
time
day.
shows up, that will be happening.
Exactly.
Lovely. Well, listen, I know I've got to let you go, but thank you, Catherine, so much. It's been an absolute joy to hang out with you. And yeah, we can do this again sometime, maybe one day.
Beautiful. Sounds like a plan, Rosanne. Thank you.
Thank you.